Sophia Mintillo. I'm with the Trumbull Economic and Community Development Department. We're so happy to have you here this evening to talk about launching your brand with social media. Our director, Rena Bacalar, apologizes for not being able to be here this evening. She's feeling a bit under the weather. But we do want you to know that our services through our department are open to you all. If you have any questions or concerns about how to get started in our community, if you would like us to direct you to some free resources offered through the town, the state, or if we can support you in any way, our director does do one-on-one business counseling. We have a flyer at the back table that goes through some of those opportunities and has her contact information there. You can reach out to us to get some more info about how to get started in Trumbull and ways that Trumbull can support you. We're also giving away a few of our presenter, Ramon Peralta's books this evening. The book is entitled Launch Your Brand, the Fastest Way to Supercharge Any Business. We have 5 copies to give away this evening. If you just drop your name or business card in the jar at the front, you'll be entered for a chance to win that. And we hope you enjoy this evening's presentation. We have our first selectman, Vicki Tesoro, here to say a few words.
Good evening, everybody. Great to see you. This sounds like a very interesting and informative program, so it's nice to have this turnout this evening. I'm just here to welcome all of you, and I don't want to delay this program from starting. So I'm going to introduce Ash. Are you going to come and talk? So Ash is here from SCORE. And SCORE is the one who's sponsoring this program this evening, and so I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
And this is, one of the series of programs that SCORE has done, and we're going to continue our relationship, of course, with you. And Ramon is here this evening to actually do the presentation. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ash.
Thank you very much, Vicki, and thank you very much. Thank you very much for making time to come here. So my name is Ash Bhaskar. I'm the current co-chair of the Fairfield County SCORE chapter. By show of hands, how many people know about SCORE? Okay, half the audience maybe. So I'll take 2 minutes to tell you a little bit about SCORE. We are a national agency which was brought into existence in 1964 by Act of Congress as a resource partner to Small Business Administration. So practically speaking, we are a federal government agency. We are funded by the government. That funding is a little bit in question right now. We won't talk about that, but we also raise funds for ourselves as well. So what do we do? What does SCORE do? So SCORE, I don't know if you know, stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives, but we don't use that acronym anymore. We just call it SCORE. So we do 3 things really. So one, the thing that we do is what you're attending today. We provide business education for people, and all our speakers are really doing it pro bono, right? Nobody's getting paid here. So doing business education, what is the scope of how much education do we do? So just to give you an example, we did about 150 such workshops in Fairfield County last year, right? So we're doing almost 2 to 3 workshops every week. Some of the really, the one that fills up the room are access to capital. Everybody needs money, right? We do a lot of it around AI and small business. And then, of course, social media and marketing is also very popular. I have flyers in the front as to what else is coming in September. Please feel free to take those. So that's the first thing we do. Second thing we do, which G actually mentioned a little bit, one-on-one mentoring, right? So if you have an idea for business, you don't know where to start, please give us a shout and we will connect you with one of our 130 volunteers who have a similar profile like mine. I'm an engineer and MBA, worked for IBM for about 20 years. I was a partner in consulting. All our volunteers have similar background. They've started businesses, they're senior executives, and we have different types of expertise in our chapter. So 130 of us, happy to help you, give us a shout. The best part about that mentoring is it is at no cost to you. So I don't know what is stopping people from just giving us a shout and taking advantage of something that is really free, right? So that's the second thing. The third thing we do is we create intellectual property that is available on our website. Templates, business plan, how to create business plan. If you're looking for a vendor, a lawyer or somebody in product marketing, we have those small referrals there as well. But all that intellectual capital is on our website, score.com/Fairfield County. Feel free to take advantage of that. And if anybody needs a mentor today, we still have forms out there. Please fill that out and we'll assign you to a mentor. With that, you are going to be delighted with what Ramon is going to say. He's one of our star presenters. I'll hand it over to Ramon. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me. So nice to see some familiar faces, some alumni that are here that have been to some of my prior workshops. How many of you here have your own business or want to start your own business? Just by show of hands. All right. So most people. Great. How many of you are solopreneurs, like you're the only employee of the company? Okay. All right. Couple. Yep. So you're, in essence, your own brand, right? Everybody here is their own brand, but we're going to talk about branding today and how to launch it, and specifically around the area of social media. So I want to just tell you a little bit about myself. I am probably what you would call a reluctant entrepreneur because I didn't really set out to start my own business. I was in the dot-com bubble in the late 1990s and early 2000s. I was on the team that started Priceline, and my goal back then was to get rich off of one of these dot-com ideas and go paint, which is what I really love to do. That's really what I went to school for. By the way, I'm having a show this fall. There's some paintings of mine up at Housatonic right now. So that's a whole nother, a dream deferred is not a dream denied, right? So I'm what you would call a reluctant entrepreneur because I always moonlighted. I had a job, and then I did like my freelance work on the side. How many of you are moonlighting or have a kind of steady paycheck and then run your business also? Okay? Secure the bag for as long as you can. I'm not one of those speakers that's going to tell you, quit your job and follow your dreams. No, like secure the bag as long as you can, and you'll know when it's time to transition into your business. I learned that it was time to transition into my business because I got laid off. And I can laugh about it now, but it was very, very traumatic, difficult. I had these expectations of a windfall. I was living beyond my means. I knew that one of these ideas was going to take off, and then one day I got that, I was summoned to the office and told that I was no longer needed, and that was devastating. That was devastating, and it was one of those things where I went home. Well, fortunately, I had a 6-month severance package. But it was like an hourglass had been flipped over, and I knew that those funds were eventually going to run out. And so I had to figure out what to do. And in that time, in 2008, no one was hiring. So I had to do some soul searching. And I said to myself, well, if I can't find a job, then maybe I am supposed to start my own business. And now I have an amazing company that's been around now 17 years. It's in Shelton, Connecticut, and it's just a testimony about how sometimes we get pulled back in life like a slingshot, and then we get propelled so much further than we probably ever dreamed we would go. The accolades that you see here are all the results of content marketing, and we're going to talk a lot about that today. During COVID, I must have put out about 150 2-minute videos. We're going to talk about how you can create some content to position yourself as a subject matter expert. And it was through those videos that I would post every week on LinkedIn, and I followed blueprints from other speakers and other authors. It's another thing that you'll kind of pick up tonight is the halo effect. Sometimes you may have access to a speaker. I see some Maxwell disciples in the room, John Maxwell, and then you can go out and share that information with folks that may not have access to the speakers or the mentors that you have access to. And so I followed those blueprints and put out content, and before you know it, I was asked to be on a panel with a local chamber. And I did a virtual panel about how to reopen safely. This is back when we all had the plexiglass between people and all that stuff that was going on. It was a scary time. And then after I did that panel, I got a phone call from NPR Marketplace, and they asked me, would you mind doing an interview? Of course I would do an interview for NPR Marketplace. And I asked them, how did you find out about me? And they said, well, we were looking on Twitter for, webinars, and we saw this one, and we signed up, and we heard you speak. Next thing you know, I got a call from the Today Show. They heard the NPR interview. So putting out content, good content, right, can build that momentum to really propel you forward. So today, I run this amazing company. I've built an amazing team. They allow me to spend time with you all, and small businesses are always going to be a big passion project of ours and a big social cause for us, because the way I started my business was very scary. And I know it's scary to leave a job, it's scary to not have a job, it's scary when you're first starting out. And I want to be who I wish was there for me. I wish I had known about SCORE when I first started. I ended up hiring a gentleman from a company called Action Coach for about 6 months. It was about $1,500 a month that I paid to learn who can I afford to hire, and what was my cost per hour sold, and all this other stuff that as a designer I really didn't have much expertise in. So definitely take advantage of SCORE. So this is what I feel like on most days, and I share this because not just because I'm a Marvel fan, but because as you begin to grow your business, you want to pull people in and assemble teams that complement each other's skill sets. People that are good at something you're not, people that are smarter than you, you've all heard that before. I don't want to hire people and tell them what to do. I want to hire people and they tell me what to do. That's when you know you have a good hire, somebody that has better expertise in the areas that you're weak in. And when you look at the Avengers or any kind of like superhero team, you don't see like 5 Hulks. You don't see 6 Iron Men. There's always somebody that brings a different skill set to the team, and that's what makes the best teams. The diversity, the backgrounds, the life experiences, right? When they all come together, you don't want to have this homogeny in teams, because now everybody's thinking the same, especially not in my space, in creative. So I shared my brand story with you, and I'll tie it into those superheroes, because if you look at them, you realize that all of the heroes that we grew up with, even if you think of Superman, they've all gone through something traumatic. And that becomes the origin story, and the origin story usually gives you the secrets as to where they got their superpowers from, right? It's through some sort of adversity, something that they overcame. So my advice to all of you that are starting out is to believe in yourself, to dream big, to start small, and to tell your story. And we're going to spend some time talking about the importance of telling your story, because that's ultimately what's going to distinguish you from other service providers that are in your same space. I like to believe in abundance. I like to believe that there's room for all of us. I see some realtors here. Fairfield County, if I throw a rock, I could either hit a financial advisor or a realtor, right? So there's a lot of them, but I still believe that there's abundance, and that you'll find the clients that are meant for you if you're in alignment with your story, what's important to you, what your values are. You'll find the clients that are in alignment with you. So don't be shy about telling your story, because ultimately that is where the differentiators lie between your business and someone else's. So some of the things we're going to talk about today: getting your brand ready for marketing, creating and telling your brand story. AI is something that I've added because it's just really been propelling everyone forward, and you hear about it every day, and you're wondering, well, how can I take advantage of it? And advertising and marketing is one area where it could really help you. Creating a buyer persona, that's kind of knowing who your target audience is. That's going to give you clues, especially in social media, as to where you should be, right? If you're servicing or have products that are being sold to young people, then you might want to be on TikTok. If they're over 40, then they're probably on Facebook. If they're businesses, then you should be on LinkedIn. So there are clues, but you got to know who you're selling to so that you know where to be, because none of us are going to be good or have the time to be good at every single platform out there. We'll talk a little bit about developing a digital marketing strategy, Google Ads, and we'll talk about how AI has really made Google Ads even tougher now. And I'll tell you why, because now the last time you've Googled something, now there's like age range. People over 40 use Google, and people under 40 are using AI or ChatGPT as their browser or as their search tool. So that's brought up a whole nother set of challenges if you're doing any kind of Google Ads or advertising online. And blogs are the secret kind of way to get through that, and I'll talk about that. Probably the most important slide here will be the golden content ratio, because everybody tells you should be posting. But we're going to talk about, well, what does that look like, and what should I post, and how often, and things like that. There are 5 books. The town bought 3. I brought a couple more that'll be raffled, and then I'll sign if time permits. And I'm going to give everyone a code so they can get a PDF of the book for free. So everything's in that book, and then there'll be another code for a 15-minute consultation with me in case there's something else you wanted to ask that you forgot to ask here, or you want to just talk about your business, or get a heck of a pep talk, right? I'll provide that. And then my favorite part is the Q&A, because that way I know that we covered what you wanted. And if you see this little icon here on a slide, that's my reminder to talk about how AI can be integrated, or how AI could help you in that particular section. So the first thing you've got to do, all of us here, is just update your headshot. You know, it's like when you go on a blind date and then the person walks, you just let the person walk by you because they don't look like the person. Not that I'm going to go on them, because I'm happily married, but that's what I hear happens. So you want to look like your profile as much as possible, at least update it every 3 years or so. I put AI here because I'm seeing people use AI to enhance their headshots. That's okay to an extent, just keep it within the realm of reality, you know, so that, because it is your brand, and it's like, well, if he's lying about having all these muscles, then what else is he lying about, right? So you want to be within reason, but you want to update it primarily for consistency. You'll hear me talk about consistency a lot, because brand consistency is what builds trust. If I see one person as Larry on LinkedIn and Lawrence on Facebook, or you know, he has hair in one profile and he doesn't have hair in another profile, you're not going to get that brand trust. The trust is going to come from being consistent across all platforms. So if you do update your profile, then update your headshot, update it on all of them. You know, your name should read the same, because we don't know where people are finding us, or what their preferred platform is. Creating a strong elevator pitch is just so that when you introduce yourself, you're saying the same thing. Or as you begin to build an army of ambassadors, friends, associates, employees, and they ask about, well, what is it that you do, that they're saying the same thing. Again, consistency. Consistency is what's going to build that brand trust. I like this one here with setting up one-on-ones with your personal network. When I first started out, a lot of people say, yeah, I'm successful now, but they never tell you how they got there. In the beginning, I would meet with every realtor and financial advisor, even though I didn't need to meet with them. I would meet with them and offer to show them my client list or my network, and they would show me theirs, and then we would vouch for each other and make introductions. So there's a lot of value in that cross-pollination. And another word you'll hear a lot is value. You want to go into meetings like this or networking events in the spirit of adding value, not going in and saying, well, who can I get as a client that's here? No, it's like, how can I help you in your business? And you start to build a strong brand reputation as someone that's not a taker, but someone that adds value when they walk in the room. I want you to think of your business like this rocket ship here, because these are the 3 main parts we're going to talk about. The top is the branding, because that's what people see. The logo, you know, the red, the message, we launch brands. And then you have the body or the hull of the ship, which is your digital footprint. You know, you can do this exercise, just Google yourself or Google your business and see what comes up. You're going to find articles, you're going to find blogs, you may find the website, reviews, right? That's the body of the ship, that's your presence online. And then digital marketing is like the engine of the business, because that's what's going to drive awareness, drive traffic. We'll talk about the marketing funnel. I mean, I call it Brand University because there's a lot that we cover. And not everything's going to stick, but again, you're going to get a copy of the ebook. You can ask me questions after. You can do the consult if there's something that you want to kind of dive deeper into. The brand iceberg is a tried and true metaphor for branding, because a lot of people think it's just the logo, like I'm done, I got my brand. No, there's so much more. Even a SWOT analysis is in here. How many of you know what that is? I know that's like a business term, but yes, there's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. All of this ties into your branding. As you do this, as you study your mission statement or develop, your emotional values or figure out what your company voice is, it gives you clues as to the tone of consistency that you should have online. If you're a fun company, attracting young people, and you're always jovial and funny and telling jokes and sarcastic, that's a particular voice that should be consistent throughout all of your content. If you're not that way and you do come off on something in that way, then again, it brings in that inconsistency which subconsciously over time just erodes trust. And then the opposite is true. If it is consistent, it builds trust. But all of these things I would consider part of your brand and your brand identity. So when you're making decisions, right, you can say, is this on brand? Is co-sponsoring this event with this other organization on brand? Do their values align with ours? And there's brand equity, right? If you are if you are a computer repairman and it just says like Joe's Computer Shop and it's written in, it's written with a paintbrush, you might not bring your laptop to this thing. But if he has in his window Microsoft certifies and you see the Microsoft brand, all of a sudden it adds some legitimacy to him. And that's what I mean by brand equity. By the same token, if it was a now defunct brand or a brand that didn't have such a great reputation and that was in his window, it would detract from his brand. So the brands that you align with have importance. Your brand story, I shared with you guys my origin story, because not every creative agency that is passionate about small business is going to have an owner that was laid off that started his business with a severance package. So it makes us stand out. It makes us vulnerable, it makes us relatable, it makes us better understand the challenges of the people that we want to help. So sharing your brand story is important, and there are some prompts that you can ask yourself, such as why am I doing it and who am I doing it for? What problem am I solving? What will make my company different? Who is my target audience? And I do believe that as you're doing this exercise, that if you have a real passion for providing value, you're using your gifts and talents, and your intentions are truly to help people, then you will be successful. But oftentimes, if businesses are just focused on making money, come hell or high water, they're not always successful, right? So you have to be in alignment. And it'll also matter because it'll affect the people that attract you, the clients that are attracted to you, the people that want to work for you. All of that matters when you establish your brand story and messaging. Here's a great example. I'm giving away that I like comics, but the truth is that in this situation, the story of Spider-Man in this case was that he had been bitten by a radioactive spider, was using his powers to wrestle and make money, and there was a robber that ran by him, and he had an opportunity to stop that robber, but he said, that's not my responsibility, And that robber ended up murdering his uncle. And in that moment, he realized with great power comes great responsibility. And so it set him on this track, right? So your story is very important because it's like, why did you start your business in the first place, right? And that becomes the foundation for a lot of your messaging that you're gonna have on all of your materials. When you share that story externally, it helps you differentiate your brand from others that do the same exact thing. But when you share that internally, it attracts people. It becomes a process of retention and recruitment. You hear a lot of business owners saying, I can't find anybody to work. Nobody wants to work anymore. And it's like, that's a lie, because people need to eat. They need to pay their bills. They want to raise families. They like traveling. So people want to work. They just don't want to work for you. Right? So if you can communicate your values through your story to your employees, there'll be more loyalty because your company becomes a brand, and then there's brand loyalty. If people find an alignment with the brand, they'll stick around much longer. So let's get into the naming aspect. This is the Trumbull business that we helped brand and name and They're local, really special place because it's run by children with special needs. These are kids that are aging out of high school, they're on the spectrum, they need life experience, job experience, and this bookstore is right around the corner from here. We had the opportunity to brand them. And why I use this example is because you can get to see naming, you can get to see icon design, and you can get to see that there's a trend right now towards debranding, where you're seeing, wherever you go, they're selling swag. I don't care if you go to a gas station, it probably has their logo on a cap and people are buying it. It's just what people like to do. And to get your brand on swag, it needs to be simplified to something that can be embroidered, something that can be easily printed in 1 or 2 colors. And so you're seeing brands have like a full-on logo with all the typography, and then they have something that's very simplified. This was another business we branded, and I'm showing you these as examples, as taking you through the process of like launching your brand. You have a business, now you can start looking at your brand story, now you can start looking at your brand identity. Kicksmith is a really cool business. It's located in Norwalk. It's somewhat of a paint and sip concept, except you're decorating sneakers. And it's fun. You tried it?
No, I saw that.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool. It's in a cool area of Norwalk that's all brand new and a cool place. It's right near, I know you guys have seen the crazy viral post from I think it's Elm Street Diner, where they make like ridiculous, I don't know who actually eats that, but they have some viral content, and Kicksmith is right around the corner from Elm Street Diner. But what I want you to notice is how the branding aligns with the website, aligns with the icon. You're basically creating a visual language. And again, this is what's building that consistency. You know, wherever you go, it's the Golden Arches, right? So you know that cheeseburger's gonna taste the same. So you've got to think of what is my company's Golden Arches? What is my company's corporate color palette? And there is a psychology behind colors as well. This was a gentleman here that's traveling the world, Road Trip with Ravi. He has his own YouTube channel, and we handle all of his content. And you can see how his brand can get simplified down to an icon and how it can be used simply. So you want to, if you have a logo now, think about how can I debrand it and make it and kind of distill it down to an icon. You can see how Ravi's content, his brand guidelines kind of migrate across web and social as well. So we've got your brand story, we've got your brand identity. Let's talk a little bit about getting your house in order. And what I mean by that is getting your website in order. But before you can start doing social media heavy, think of that as like sending out your invitations. You got to make sure the house is ready for company, right? And so some of the platforms that we recommend, Wix, Shopify, Squarespace, WordPress. There's an amazing amount that you can do yourself if you're so inclined. The technology now has gotten to a point where you don't need to know how to code. If you have the time, or somebody on your staff has the time, you can really take care of a lot of this yourself. And you can use AI. Calls to action are very important, and I'm going to show you what those are. But you can use AI to say, hey, I'm opening up a bakery. What are some of the, can you prepare a sitemap for me for my website? And you can ask ChatGPT to just tell you what kind of pages do bakeries have? What are some of the calls to action that a bakery might need? If you're not working with an agency, you can ask it some of these things, and it's going to go online and look at other bakery websites, and it's going to give you some clues as to what pages you should have. But think of how, for you in your position, what calls to action do you need? Is it a free estimate button? Are you going to be on your phone? Or are you doing the job and have the phone, so you need people to leave you a message? Or are you going to have staff that's answering the phone, and maybe answering the phone is your differentiator? But the calls to action are important to determine. This is an example of a site that we did for this organization, Chesla, here in Connecticut. And it's a higher education student loan program. And I love it because it's clean, and what I'm sharing with you here is what's above the fold. And so all of you, how many of you have a website for your business already? Good. So go back and look at it, but don't scroll. And just see when you first launch it, whether it's on your phone or on your desktop, what's above the fold. And your main calls to action should be above the fold. And the way people look at websites, they've done research. It's really not rocket science. They use like a heat mapping technology called Hotjar. But you basically start in the left, go up to the upper right, go down to the lower left, go to the lower right, and then end up in the middle. So typically you'll see the logo for the company in the upper left because that's where people look first. And then the main calls to action, in this case here, apply now and they want newsletter subscriptions. Those are their main calls to action. That's why you see those in the upper right-hand corner. These programs are like secondary calls to action. The other main one is apply now, and that's why you see apply now in 2 places. So if you have a very dominant, strong main call to action, have it in the upper right and have it in the middle of your page, above the fold. Because anything important that's below that, people might not even see. People have the shortest attention span you can imagine. They get to your website and it takes more than like 5 seconds to load, they're gone. And 80% of them never come back. And you're spending money trying to drive traffic, right? So optimize your website, make sure you have clear calls to action. So I'm not going to go through all of these because I definitely want to leave time for Q&A. But these are all different ways that you can drive traffic. Like once you have that website, how can you drive traffic? Establishing a presence across all social media is important, but try to focus on your top 3. I focus mostly on Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. And that served me well. Like I don't care to go into other platforms or really spend a lot of time trying to figure out any other platform. There's a ton of them, TikTok, Pinterest, X. Those are the 3, pick 3 and be good at those. 3 where your clients are at. Get some Google reviews, set up Google My Business. Teach AI your style of voice if you need help. And why AI is on here is because AI can help you with creating content. You need to feed it something. You can feed it your services, you can feed it your narrative, and then you can ask it, can you rewrite this for me in a funnier way? Can you write this in a more complex way? Can you make this sound technical? Can you make this sound fun? Can you make this sound easy? It's all about the prompts that you're giving it. And chatgpt.com, it's free, you can try it out. Google has one, it's called Gemini. It's free, you can try it out. Get familiar with it because it's not going anywhere. And you get in the habit of using it as a tool. And definitely if you're trying to translate something, there are translation companies that would charge a lot of money to translate into other languages. Now you can cut, paste it into ChatGPT and get it translated, but it's not perfect. You still need to proof it, read it, and it's only gonna use what you put in. So you have to put in good data. You have to know your business still. It's not gonna kind of do your business for you. So now let's talk about marketing a little bit. Marketing funnel. This is not a new concept. This worked with newspapers. It worked with billboards. It works with social media. It's the marketing funnel, and we're all in it. Now your phones are listening. Some people think it's reading your mind, but you see things appear that you may have said because they do listen, and every time we sign up for a platform, we're agreeing to giving up a lot of our privacy. But retargeting is real. So it means that if you, click on an ad for John Deere, and then you go to the John Deere website and you scan for a push mower, the next time you go on social, you're going to see an ad for a push mower. You're not going to see it for just John Deere. It's tracking you. It's moving you down that funnel. And the awareness stage is where everyone is when they're first starting out. You need to let people know that you exist, and that's what that is. Consideration is when somebody is comparing you to another business. And then conversion is when they actually do something. They either file, click to get a free estimate, or they made an appointment. That's the ultimate goal. And then retention is so important because I think the numbers are that it costs 10 times more to get a new client than it is to sell something to an existing client. So make sure you're nurturing those relationships with your existing clients. E-newsletters are a great way to just stay in touch and give them value, give them information, not just always sell to them, right? And that's the retention piece. Give them a discount, give them something free, teach them something, give them something free they can download to learn something that you provide. But the relationship is important in the retention phase as well. Understanding your goals. These are business tenets here. SMART goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So what do I mean by that? If you start to do any sort of a strategy, like, hey, I'm gonna run a social media ad to see if I can get more followers, or I'm gonna boost a post to see if I get more signups on my newsletter, and I'm gonna give myself a month or 2 months, and I'm gonna put $20 this month and see what happens. Those are SMART goals. They're just something that you can measure. But if you just take the shotgun approach, it's gonna be very difficult for you to know what's working and what's not. Understanding your audience, spend some time here developing a buyer persona. And I think you can use AI here. I did it the old-fashioned way. Every time I got a new client, I would ask them, well, why did you leave the last agency? And they'll tell you. They hit me with all these surprise charges. They never returned my phone call. I couldn't get a hold of the principal. They put me in touch with some junior designer, and I never got to meet the principal. They'll give you clues. You can also use ChatGPT to ask it, what are some pain points in my industry? What are some pain points that realtors encounter? What are some pain points that financial advisors encounter? What are some pain points plumbers encounter with customers? Just ask it, because it's going to scour the internet for blogs and posts and websites, and it may give you some clues and at least give you a starting point, and then you can say, you know what, if plumbers are always known to be late, then my whole brand is going to be like, we're super early. That's just a lame example, but it gives you an idea of how you can employ figuring that out. Maybe it's finding out what's important to them, what are their attitudes about a particular target, and you want to segment them as well. This is what creating a buyer persona looks like. It just means like you actually, and you can say, look, my worst client, I don't want any more of this, of people like this. Worst client here was a complete nightmare dealing with them. What are some of the attributes that made them the worst client? And then make sure that your marketing is not speaking to that target persona. If you have an ideal client, my ideal client is somebody that's well-funded, has a great idea, is ready to grow their business, then I make sure that my marketing is speaking to them. But you got to understand who it is that you're wanting to attract. So let's talk a little bit about social media. Marketing is probably the most cost-effective way to do that, to promote your products and services. Of course, first you have to establish your presence on there, but it's a great way to generate leads. Follow your competitors. If you're an electrician, follow other electrical company accounts and see what they're posting. They may be spending, their marketing budget might be way bigger than yours, but at least you can learn and see what kind of posts are their followers engaging with, what kind of content are they putting up there, how many followers do they have. So follow your competition, learn from them. And this is probably the most important slide I'll share with you. This is the golden content ratio. So golden content ratio means that in order for you to optimize engagement, meaning like gain more followers, create more engagement, people commenting and sharing your content, which is the ultimate compliment, you want to follow this ratio, which is 50% of what you post should be education. All right, 50%. You should be teaching people tips, trends, guides, how to plan for retirement. Here are the top 5 mistakes small business owners make when exiting. That would be a download paper that I would want guaranteed. And guess what? When I go to download that, I have to give my information. I'd have to give my email, my name, maybe more, whatever it is that you want to capture. But people will trade for that. Well, I'll talk a little bit about lead magnets. But make it educational, because now I associate your brand with being a subject matter expert. Those 150 videos that I talked about, they were just business tips, branding tips, things that I was encountering on any given day, I would share about them. And it positions you as a subject matter expert. The other 30% entertainment. People love to see before and afters, like if you're a home remodeler, before and after, images are great entertainment. If you've got a cool office, you can show what it's like inside, people hanging out, people having fun, teams working together. It could be some community service that your team is doing. All those things kind of fall under the entertainment because they're getting a peek into what your business is like. That builds some loyalty.
Sorry, I know there's
Yeah.
not questions yet, but what if you don't have that much content? How about repeating the same over and over
You
again?
wouldn't necessarily repeat the same over and over. And that might be something where you could, on a monthly basis, work to develop a content calendar, because I think part of the stress and anxiety is like not doing it well enough in advance. So you might want to not post for a bit until you have at least the next month's content calendar already set and ready to go. And then during that month, you're working on the following month's content calendar. Like for us, we provide social media services for a major hospital, and we present to them a month in advance, what are we going to post? And sometimes I think every industry has a Super Bowl, meaning that there's a time of year that's like your time of year that your business does well. Like if you're a florist, right, Mother's Day or Valentine's Day would be big. But you can look to see what retail holidays are going on in that month, and maybe base some of your content around things that are happening already. So like look at the calendar and see, well, what are people doing? Are they more likely to be going back to school? Are they more likely to be preparing for weddings? Are they more, like something that ties with your industry?
But maybe I didn't ask my question properly.
Mhm.
What if, let's say you said the picture, the before and after,
Yeah.
right? What if I'm just a beginner, I only have one or two of those?
Yeah,
And can I
that's okay.
repeat those?
You can maximize those by taking photos, taking videos, mixing that up, writing a blog about that transformation.
Okay.
So you can take one event,
So you
and,
get a little-
and if you shoot like 2 minutes out of it, you could probably get, 4 or 5 30-second reels out of that. You can narrate one, you could interview the customer. I mean, you just have to learn how to like spread out that dough, knead that dough out as thin as you can to maximize that event into as many pieces of content. And it's short form content. You could have a long form piece of content that lives on YouTube, and then out of that 2-minute video, you could have a ton of smaller snippets that you use on social media,
Thank you.
right? So you can learn to maximize it. So I've already described 80% of the stuff that you post, and I haven't gotten to sales yet. The promotional piece is only 20%. 20%. And what happens is people get it backwards. They're selling 80% of the time. I remember like how many people in the early days of social media that were selling like the Beachbody, P90X, smoothies, and like everybody was on there, or Herbalife, and it's like all they do is just try to sell whatever it is they're selling, and you're not going on there to buy. I know that's where we purchase. Trust me, I got more sneakers and shoes and clothes than my wife does, I think, because of all the Facebook stuff and once they know you do it, you're gonna get more. But the truth is that the promotional side of it is the least that they're posting, because you're trying to get engagement with the educational, you're trying to establish your brand with the entertainment, the social causes, the community work, and so that when you do post something promotional, people actually engage with it. But if you do too much sales, you're obviously you're going to lose folks. And by sales, I don't always mean like, hey, we're having a 20% off sale. Sale could be like a case study. It could be a testimonial that somebody gave you, a quote. You can take a Google review and go into Canva, which is a very easy to use platform that comes with a lot of built-in templates. And you can take a quote of somebody that is really happy with you, take their photo and put a quote and ask them, can I make this into a graphic? And post that. And that counts as promotional, right? So this is very important for your business here, the golden content ratio. So, in summary, with your presence, be relentlessly helpful. Provide value, help others, make that your brand. Relentlessly helpful. So, we're gonna talk a little bit about some advertising tactics here. The most common types. Social media advertising, we talked about Google ads and display ads. How many of you guys have boosted a post before and know what that is? Okay, great. That's that little button there. If you see something that does well amongst your friends and family and immediate followers, there's a good likelihood that's a good, graphic or ad to boost, but don't boost it to the same people that have already seen it. That's your opportunity to say, hey, I've got a lot of fans in Shelton, but I want to boost this in Fairfield, or I want to boost this in Wallingford, or I want to boost this in Hartford, somewhere where I don't have that brand presence that I may have in Fairfield County. So when you boost, it's an opportunity for you to really get granular with the demographics, like men, women, families, income earners, homeowners, interested in fishing. Like, you can get very specific, and what Facebook does is look in those people's profiles to match them, and they'll see your ad when you boost it, right? And depending on how much you boost it for, you can actually, if you do 20, you're gonna see it may reach like 1,000 people. If you do 30, $40, it may go to 10,000. It'll give you some good statistics, and then there's analytics that go with it where you can see did this actually work. These are examples of some lead magnets that you can run on LinkedIn or even on Facebook or Instagram, but essentially that's a lead magnet example. I'm using that lobbying client of ours as an example. They didn't have a really big email database of potential customers, and they gave away this, for the gentleman from Ganem, it could be like, learn about exiting your business, like an ebook. I know your dad's written a full book, but if you were to condense it down into maybe just a chapter of it and gave it away, you would get people interested because they download it and they give you their email address. And then once a week you might say, hey, I noticed you downloaded our ebook. You qualify for a free consultation. Now it's somebody that's a warm lead versus somebody that you're just carpet bombing. This is somebody that's giving you essentially permission to market to them. Google Ads, I'm not going to go all into it, but I want to kind of warn you that you have to use actual data and you have to blog. This is like one more thing that you have to do. Blogs were like really popular back in the day. They're very important now, because if somebody uses Google to search for anything, handyman in Fairfield County, Gemini is going to do like a Gemini overview, and it's going to pull data from blogs. And so sometimes people may read that and get their answers and never look at the Google ad that you're paying for. So you kind of have to do now a combination of Google ads and blogs because of AI. So if you have a blog that has, like, I don't know, the top 25 handyman projects of 2025, it gives you an excuse to use like bathroom remodeling and sheetrock and all these terms, and then when somebody Googles that, your article could come up, and that's what leads them to your website. Yeah, Chad.
Does a blog have to be on the website? Like, I have the LinkedIn newsletter as a blog.
It needs to be on your website.
Okay.
It needs to, because otherwise it's going to take them to LinkedIn. You want to take them to your website.
Got it.
But you put it on your website and then share it on LinkedIn. Now you have a lead magnet on LinkedIn that goes to your website. So it's always better to have them on your website. This is just a screenshot of what that AI looks like. The AI that I just described, the Gemini AI. So somebody just Googled, like, how do I make a latte? And Gemini pulled from these two blogs. So it's just giving you an example how it's working. That has changed. This is just really recent in how it's changed. And so if you were running a Google ad and you didn't have a blog on your post, you might lose out to somebody that's not even paying for a Google ad, they just have a blog. So it's very important to create content on your website and use actual data, because it's pulling from it won't be pulling from your blog. So how Google Ads work, we run one for annual reports, for example. This is what it looks like on a phone. And you pay per click. You create something that you think people are searching for. And exactly as you see here, somebody's gonna click that and it's gonna take them to a landing page. I highly recommend that if you do run a Google ad, that you have a dedicated landing page that coincides with that Google ad. If you run a Google ad for, I don't know, hair transplants, and you have a medical clinic, and then I click the hair transplant, and I go to the medical clinic, I may not see where the hair transplants are right away. But if I click that and it takes me right to a hair transplant page, I'm more likely to convert, right? You're trying to minimize the moving parts, minimize the clicks, get me to right to what I'm looking for. And it's a lot easier also to measure traffic to a landing page that's about just one thing than measuring the traffic that's coming to your website in general, because you might have a lot of different campaigns going on at that time.
Question.
Yeah.
When you put a blog post up, and then you said before, put it up on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
can it be the exact same article, or do you have to rewrite it?
No, you don't have to rewrite it. You just share a link to it, yeah. And what I would recommend is, instead of just putting the link to it, like, pull out a quote from it. And what happens too is if you have a photo on your blog, which I highly recommend, it'll generate that graphic on your LinkedIn post automatically. So it's a little bit more visually interesting than just a link. And then, once they get on that landing page, the conversion is this piece here. You want people to have some skin in the game. You want to avoid bots. You want to avoid spammers. If people are willing to fill out a few questions or upload something to you, at least when you get that, at the end of the day, you realize this is a potential job. This has potential because they did some things. I made them jump through a few hoops. So this is just an example of how it works. It works for us. We're spending about $500 a month on this ad. And if we win one of those jobs, it's like a $10,000 job. So if we win one every couple of months, every 2 or 3 months, it's gotta be the right ROI for your business. Like, what am I spending and what can I get out of it? Is it worth it? There are people spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on like Instagram. We have one client that's in the peptide space. Like, anti-aging right now is really taking off. And he makes 10x what he's spending on advertising. So it's really all about, Keurig. I think they spend like $100,000 a month on Google Ads. Of course, they're a multi-million-dollar company, but it's all about what the return is and is it worth it for you. Email marketing, I mentioned using lead magnets for that. Some other AI tools that are out there. Like I said, Google has Gemini now, which is like a competitor to ChatGPT. Meta, you even see it on LinkedIn. LinkedIn will say, like, do you need help writing your posts? It's everywhere. It's just gonna be part of our daily life. Lastly, I wanna end with this, and this kind of ties back into your story. And this is just a quote by Howard Schultz here, that if people believe they share values with a company, they will stay loyal to your brand. You can show what's important to your business through your social media and by telling your story. If you're too generic, you're gonna miss out on this brand loyalty. And the truth is that today's consumers, millennials, Gen Z even more, they expect like the companies that they support to be standing up for something. You're seeing it more and more and more. Back in the day, it was only like the company Tom's that would you buy a pair of shoes, they could donate another pair to Africa. They were one of the first to really do that, but now you're seeing a lot of companies doing that. And it's just to build that loyalty, because the younger generation almost expects that. They want to feel like they're part of something bigger. A great book I recommend is The E-Myth, and I asked you in the beginning how many of you were solopreneurs, because if you're the only employee, you're working for a lunatic. Because you're always thinking of your business, always, always, always. So The E-Myth is a great book, and it's all about scaling. How did I start scaling? I started firing myself, because when you're starting out, you do everything. They say chief cook and bottle washer, so it's like you're doing everything, even the things you aren't good at. For me, it was invoicing. I was terrible at it. And somebody asked me, so if you had a CFO that was hated his job, you know, had hundreds of thousands in accounts receivable, was losing track of payments, what would you do with that person? Fire him, right? And that was me. So that's what I was doing to my own business. So sometimes the clues we have as to who we should hire first as we're starting to grow our business are the areas that we're weak in, right? Or the areas of the parts of the job that we don't particularly like. Think about this. This is a great book that I'm reading called Legacy. The All Blacks is like the most successful rugby team in the world or sports franchise in the world. They talk about the people, you know, like if you focus on the team, the score will work itself out. So as you start hiring, you have to develop as a leader. Even if that's not your strong point, it's an area of growth for many of us that are in business. Pay it forward, right? This is why I do this. No one ever succeeds without the help of others. And a final thought, if you only have 2,000, some of you that are just starting out, use free tools, take advantage of SCORE, take advantage of AI, right? And then invest in assets that will build momentum, like a good website, or creating good content, or ads that target your exact audience. The biggest mistake you can make is blowing your budget without having a plan. So please take advantage of the resources. You know, I'm going to share with you the ebook of my book. You know, take advantage of SCORE. But every dollar that you spend should be tied to your goal. So those of you, you can scan this and that are interested in getting the ebook, and then that's the code that you're going to enter up there, FASTFree24. And then I think at the end, after the Q&A, maybe you're going to do the raffle?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And if you can't scan that for whatever reason, the domain is peraltadesign.com/ebook. Or you can take a picture and then scan it later. And I can pull this back up in a bit. Some other books that I recommend: Legacy, currently my favorite book. Again, it's about growing your team, and it's about that rugby team. Good to Great is an awesome book. Lead Your Tribe, Love Your Work is an awesome one. I just encourage all of you that are in business to grow and scale and try to build it and create jobs. And really, small businesses really are the backbone of our economy, and we could use some more of that. So I recommend all these books. This is another download for you that's free, that goes with the book, and they're just some activity sheets that will help you, like, develop your brand story, create some SMART goals. A lot of the things we talked about, I just created some activity sheets that you can download for free, and that's the link for that as well. And again, I can pull this back up if we need it. I have a TED Talk. You can find it on YouTube. It's geared towards entrepreneurs. It's only 10 minutes, as most TED Talks are, but it's be yourself, fire yourself, invest in yourself. And this is for a free 15-minute consultation with me. We can do it in person in Shelton, or we can do it on a video call. I would love to learn more about you and figure out how we can help. All right, I think that's the end of my presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So, as you know, that we do a lot of mentoring, and we get almost 4 or 5 requests every day from people asking for help. And as a chapter chair, I do get to read all those things. And one of the biggest one, really, that I see come up very often is people wonder actually how much money should I be spending every month. You know, there are a lot of solopreneurs here who are doing everything. So it's either do it yourself or hire somebody to do it for you. So what is your office recommendation as to what is the inflection point when you stop doing it, you fire yourself and hire somebody? What's that? Give us a sense of that.
I think whatever you can afford for at least 3 months. I think the main takeaway from this is you have to look at the data. You have to look and see, am I getting a return on this? I would not go longer than 3 months or less than 3 months without looking at the data. If you go less, you're not gonna have enough data. If you go more, you may be going in the wrong direction. But I think on a quarterly basis, start with boosting social media ads. I think that's the lowest barrier to entry as far as advertising goes, because you can do it very economically. And then I also think Google ads can be very effective. And it's never gonna be a one-trick pony. You have to look at marketing and advertising as an integrated approach. It's integrated. You have to do a little bit of everything. But for you that are just starting out, I would say boosting social media posts and running Google ads and getting familiar with Google Analytics. Google Analytics is free. You can connect it to your website. It holds a lot of clues as to who's visiting your website, what states are they from, what pages are they spending the most time on, when are they leaving, and you can get that information from Google Analytics. And if you need help setting that up, that's definitely something that my company can help you with, but it's not hard to do. But I highly recommend, if you're not taking advantage of that, to do so. And then you might be surprised. You might say, wow, I didn't realize it's only women coming to my website, or I didn't realize they all skip my homepage and they go to my services page. And if that's what's happening, then you know to make sure you have a call to action on that services page that might not be there. So little tweaks you can make. So I think before you spend money, probably spend some time getting familiar with Google Analytics and learn about how your website is performing.
So,
Yeah.
let's say a solopreneur doing about $100,000, let's say, in revenue in a year. What do you expect what do you expect social media market
I mean,
spend?
the standard is 20%, you know?
20%?
Yeah, but I think, you know, so, what's that? That would be like $2,000, right? 20 grand, so, yeah. So I would say $1,000 a month, $500 a month. Even in our size company, we're probably spending $1,500 a month on Google ads. But we're looking constantly for a return. Like we get bites from all over the country. That's the other cool thing, is if you have a product or service that's not limited to Connecticut, Google ads can help you get clients from other countries, from other states. And that could be something that opens some doors for you, if you're a consultant in that way.
I have a Google page,
Yeah.
a business page.
Yes.
And I had some clients find me through
Yes.
that. I have never done a Google ad, and my budget is I'm very beginning stage of my business. Should I even consider doing that, or, because you've been mentioning Google ad a lot?
Yes.
So now, obviously,
What is your business?
fitness.
Fitness, okay, very competitive space. Is there a specific niche?
Yes,
like moms
yes,
or-
yes.
Okay.
The mid-aged women, menopause.
Yeah, so I would highly recommend that before you do Google ads, that you do some content. I think you would do good on videos, talking about this, creating an account, on Instagram or Facebook,
Yes, I
where you
have,
just
yeah.
put out videos geared towards women,
Yes.
over 40 or in their 50s. Google My Business is amazing to have. That's also free, and I know a lot of people don't take advantage of that, but if somebody were to Google her business, that Google My Business page comes up, and it's kind of like a mini snapshot of the health of her business. It has like her rating, it has her address, some pictures, it has reviews, all of that comes up immediately, so.
And the map too.
And the map, exactly how to find it.
Because for me, the location.
Yes.
is fun.
Yes, so Google My Business is also very important. I'm glad you have that. But I think that with you video content, with fitness, I feel like video content is where it's at.
So you should still recommend doing ad, even though they find me with just
Yes.
the Google search.
Yes, because your videos will appear on that Google search as well.
Oh.
So imagine they find, the Google My Business page plus a bunch of your videos. That's instant validation that you're an expert. So I think that would be good for you. Yeah.
Building on that question.
Yeah.
How would an outbound, if you're boosting that, how would you incorporate psychographics for someone who would be interested in that woman's business? emotional connections to their, I guess you could use age demographics, but how do you
Age.
get deeper into like psychographics of how they're feeling about their body changing, menopause? How do you find those people?
Certain keywords, I think you could find keywords that those women are looking up.
And just
right?
experiment
It could be
on,
hormone therapy, it could be, there are certain keywords that you can use Google Trends for, and it'll tell you what are the most popular keywords for women over 50 or women over 40.
That's when you ask AI, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
okay.
Any other questions?
There was a while ago, I watched a video about how, like, one point in your business you do the jump, right? For you, it was, you just mentioned at the beginning when you got fired, that was your
Yeah.
jump. You were actually forced into putting all your effort in your business.
Yes.
So how do we know when is the time? Like, the business is growing, it doubled, tripled, let's say within a year. How do I know this is the time to, like, all right, I need to go down big, invest more,
Yeah.
and then hope for the best?
That question is going to be different for everyone, but you'll know, and what I mean by that is it may be that you find yourself in a situation where a client can only see you, at 10 in the morning, and they want to give you a big contract and they want to hire you for training, but you're working at that time, and you're like, well, I can only see you after 5. Well, I can't. If that happens enough, you're gonna want to make that change. So I think it's always, the philosophy that we use in the .com world, I think applies with a lot of businesses. And I think the mistake would be to quit your job with no clients and then try to fill your calendar. The opposite is what you want to do, is get to a point where your calendar, you're now turning away business, and then so you open the floodgates. So in the .com world, we would prototype a business, and we would call it vaporware. It didn't exist. We would bring it in and show it to a client, a potential investor, and if they wanted it, then we would say, oh crap, now we gotta go build this thing. But that was a better problem than to build it and then try to find a customer, right? So maybe initially your Calendly your appointment book only has certain time slots, but maybe you start polling or doing focus groups with your clients and say, what other times would you prefer? And then you start saying, okay, it looks like I can fill up my entire day now, and then that might be the time where you make that transition. When you feel like your business can replace your job income, or you be okay for, or you build enough of a nest egg. Like for me, it was that severance package. I felt like I had 6 months of risk taking. It's a lot of risk and it's a lot of scariness with it. You may also partner with a chiropractor or a nutritional supplement provider or a nutritionist or someone who shares that same demographic that you work with, and then it's a less of a risk if you go in it together. Some of their clients become yours, some of your clients become theirs. Maybe you sublease a space within that office before so you take these baby steps that are safe, than just jumping into it and then hoping you can fill up your time.
Okay, thank you.
I hope that helps. Yeah.
Thank you, Ramon. I'm a patent and trademark attorney.
Yes.
And I recently started doing videos and linking it to my blog and LinkedIn,
Yep.
but I do it on YouTube.
Yep.
And you've mentioned Facebook and Instagram. Is it better to record on Facebook and then link it to my blog, or does it matter? Is it all?
YouTube is the best, because if you
Okay.
get enough views on YouTube, you can get paid. So you definitely would prefer to have your videos be on YouTube. But I think you can use that same content and then repost it on Facebook and Instagram. I know that you can take a YouTube link and paste it into Facebook and it'll play, but it takes people, like your ultimate goal is to increase views. Like I think it's once you get over 100,000, you start getting a check from YouTube. So
I haven't hit that yet.
yeah, but you utilize Facebook and Instagram. There's like 80% of like internet users are on Facebook, so like you may have a YouTube channel, but people aren't necessarily like hanging out on YouTube as they are on Facebook. So you're right about having that channel, because you can monetize that channel. Whereas if you just make your videos on Facebook, you're kind of just giving traffic to Facebook. You're making Facebook wealthier. Whereas YouTube, that can be your channel. Yeah.
Facebook has a new policy where they don't keep your videos for that long. So it's not ideal if
Yes,
it's
that's a
like a
good point.
tutorial or something, they'll get rid of it. They'll warn you first, but they don't keep
Yeah.
it for long anymore.
Yeah. That's a good point. So, YouTube. Yeah.
So we have one product that we created and we started selling. It's a beach sand remover. And you mentioned for social media, what we're trying to do is organically grow on social media.
Yes.
And for brand awareness and also financially, obviously, it's much more budget friendly to do it that way. But how do you recommend, like, what is the best way to organically grow your audience? And also, I know you mentioned education, but it's like a very specific
Yeah.
niche product. So I'm not sure, like, when it comes to education.
Do you have any animation or any
Yeah, we have a lot
how
of
it
videos.
works and stuff?
Yeah, we have a lot of how it works videos, we show it, like, it's obviously very kid-friendly, it's great for parents at the beach, so we really have, like, our kids
How
out
does it, how
there.
does it work?
Yeah, so it's actually, and I have it, but it's a,
So you don't have to rinse off with water or anything?
no, so it's a bottle, and it's a powder and a brush,
Oh, I see
so the powder
that.
comes out. I'll show you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's great, and it, you know, it's, we have young kids, so it's wonderful at the beach. But, yeah, I guess we're really just trying to grow. Again, we've done boosting, and we've done that route, and we've gotten some sales, but I don't want to keep throwing money at
Yeah.
it, honestly,
Yeah.
especially going into like.
Let's do the console, because I think my team
Okay,
would have some ideas.
yeah, that'd be
Because
great.
we, you know, podcasts and appearing on interviews and things like, we
Yeah.
host a podcast, that's also good content, so it doesn't always feel like it's an ad.
Yeah.
You're telling your story, how you came up with it, it's inspiring.
Yeah.
Like, people getting to know that you're a family as well
Yes.
becomes a big part of your brand, so that's storytelling. And there are agencies that will try to get you on podcasts, so that could be a route. It's just getting on different podcasts
Yeah,
that have followed. Like, if you were to get on like Mel Robbins' podcast, I'm sure it would blow up. But
Yeah.
like, it's like, how do you get on it?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So like, just sharing your story is another organic way where it doesn't feel like that could be like a Shark Tank episode.
Right.
Like, that's the kind of product I think that would do well on there.
Yeah, okay, great.
But definitely follow up, because,
Yeah.
you know, I'd love to learn more. And you based in Trumbull, or?
We're at Monroe, over from
Monroe.
Trumbull, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
Awesome.
And you have, is that a prototype or the real thing?
No, really, we started selling in July, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
Do you
And
have
are
business
in
cards?
stores?
I do, yeah.
You're in
Um,
stores? or-
We're not yet, so that's what we didn't launch till July due to, honestly, the tariff issues and stuff, we
Yeah.
were a little bit delayed.
Yeah,
So a lot of stores were like, we're not looking at summer products in July, they're already kind of looking into fall, so
Yeah.
we're hoping to get into kind of some small mom
Good.
and pop. I mean, our biggest thing is, we are literally mom and pop owned, so we want to use that.
yeah.
But honestly, neither of us are in the marketing field at all, so
Yeah.
it's really foreign to us.
Yeah. Great, love to talk to you soon.
Okay, perfect.
What's the product again? I'm sorry.
It's a beach sand remover, so you use this to actually remove the sand from like your hands and feet while you're at the beach or when you're leaving.
Beach sand.
Sand, yeah.
If you have kids, this is golden.
Yes, exactly, for kids, it's really.
Yeah.